The Velnari Empire stretched across 12 star systems, and every species within its borders knew the name of Princess Kael'thra. She was the youngest daughter of the Eternal Throne, a woman carved from winter itself. Her skin held the pale blue luminescence of her people, and her eyes were the color of frozen silver. Those who served in her court whispered that she had never smiled, never shown warmth to any living soul. She conducted diplomatic meetings with the precision of a blade, her voice never rising above a measured calm that could freeze negotiators. Mid-sentence. The humans were new to this sector of space, barely a decade removed from their first faster-than-light voyage. They had earned a reputation for being unpredictable, emotional, and dangerously clever. The Velnari Council had debated for months whether to allow human scouts into their territory, but curiosity had won over caution. They wanted to understand these strange creatures who laughed during battle and cried at poetry. Scout Jackson Reed drew the assignment through sheer bad luck. He had been mapping asteroid fields near the border when a ship took damage from a magnetic storm. The nearest safe harbor was a Velnari outpost on the moon of Thrikal, a diplomatic station where Princess Kael'thra happened to be conducting trade negotiations. Jack had no choice but to limp into dock and request emergency repairs. The princess granted him an audience because protocol demanded it. She received him in a chamber of polished white stone, seated on a chair that looked more like a throne of ice. Her attendants flanked her, tall and silent, their expressions as cold as their mistress. Jack entered in his worn flight suit, his dark hair still mussed from pulling off his helmet, and offered the casual salute humans used among themselves. "Your Highness," he said, because he had at least read the briefing materials. "I appreciate the hospitality. My ship needs about 3 days of work. Then I'll be out of your hair." He paused. "Do your people have hair? I mean, I can see you do, but is that the right term? Or, you may wait here while repairs are completed," Kael'thra interrupted, her voice like the ring of crystal. "You will be assigned quarters. You will not wander the station without escort." Jack nodded, recognizing a dismissal when he heard one. But as he turned to leave, he caught something in her expression, a flicker of curiosity quickly suppressed. It was gone so fast, he almost thought he imagined it. The next day, Jack found himself wandering the observation deck despite the restriction. No one had actually assigned him an escort, and he figured looking out windows couldn't violate any serious rules. The view of Thrikal's parent planet was stunning, a gas giant painted in shades of purple and gold. He was sketching it on his datapad when Kael'thra appeared beside him, silent as shadow. "You were instructed not to wander," she said. Jack jumped, nearly dropping his pad. "You move quiet for someone wearing all that formal gear. Why are you drawing?" she asked, ignoring his comment. "Your device can capture images with perfect accuracy." "Sure, but that's not the same," Jack said, holding up his rough sketch. "When you draw something, you have to really look at it. You notice things a camera misses. Like how that band of storms looks like a dragon if you tilt your head." Kael'thra stared at the sketch, then at the planet, and back at the sketch. "I do not see a dragon." "Here," Jack said, moving closer and pointing. "That's the head. Those are the wings spreading out. The tail curves down into that darker region." She leaned in, following his finger, and for a moment she was close enough that he could see the subtle patterns of light that moved beneath, her skin like bioluminescence. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "if one possesses considerable imagination. Do you draw?" Jack asked. "I have been trained in calligraphy and formal documentation," she replied. "Not recreational art." "That's a shame," Jack said. "You've got the steady hands for it." Something shifted in her expression, too subtle to name. "You should return to your quarters." But the next day, she appeared on the observation deck again at the same time. And the day after that. On the third day, Jack brought a spare datapad and showed her how to use the drawing program. Her first attempts were rigid and formal, but he noticed she kept returning to organic shapes, the curve of the planet's storms, the spiral of a distant nebula visible through the viewport. "Your people do not approve of imagination?" Jack asked as she frowned at her sketch. "The Velnari value control," Kelthra said. "Emotion is chaos. It leads to poor decisions and weakness." "Emotion also leads to art, music, connection," Jack countered. "Doesn't sound weak to me." "You have been in one war after another since you reached the stars," she said. "Your worlds nearly destroyed themselves before you left them. That is what emotion brings." "We also rebuilt," Jack said quietly. "We also learned. And yeah, we're messy and we make mistakes, but we're alive. Really alive. When's the last time you laughed, Your Highness?" Kelthra turned to face him fully, and her eyes were sharp. "You presume much human." "Jack," he said. "My name is Jack. I know your name. Then use it." The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled taut. Then, incredibly, her lips curved upward by the smallest fraction. "You are remarkably insolent, Jack." "One of my best qualities," he agreed. The barrier between them cracked that day. Kelthra began to ask questions about Earth, about human customs, about the things that made Jack laugh or made him sad. He told her about rain, which the Velnari homeworld did not have. He described the ocean, the way salt spray could sting your face and make you feel alive. He talked about music festivals and street food, and the particular joy of sleeping under open stars. In return, she told him about the weight of her crown, the expectations that had shaped her since birth. She spoke of beauty and precision in perfectly executed duty, in the harmony of a society that valued order above all else. But as she spoke, Jack heard the hollowness beneath the words, the question she had never been allowed to ask on the final evening before his ship was ready. Jack found her on the observation deck one last time. The gas giant was in full eclipse, creating a ring of fire against the black. "I leave tomorrow," he said. "I am aware," Kelthra replied. "I'll miss these conversations." She said nothing, but the light patterns under her skin flickered faster. A sign of emotion he had learned to read. "Come with me," Jack said suddenly. She turned to him, her silver eyes wide. "That is impossible." "Why?" "You're miserable here." "I can see it." "You're a person, not a statue." "I am a princess of the Velnari," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "I have responsibilities." "You have a life," Jack said. "One life. Are you going to spend it all being what everyone else needs?" "If I leave, it will create a diplomatic incident," she whispered. "It could mean war. Or it could mean change," Jack said. "Someone has to be first. Someone has to show them there's another way." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His warm human hand wrapped around her cool fingers, and where they touched, her skin glowed brighter. "I'm scared," she admitted, and saying it seemed to shock her more than anything else. "That's okay," Jack said. "Brave people are always scared. They just don't let it stop them." The next morning, Scout Jackson Reed departed the Velnari station with an unexpected passenger. The diplomatic incident that followed would occupy councils and courts for years. But by then, the scout ship was already 3 systems away, and in the cramped cockpit, Princess Kelthra was learning to laugh. It started small, a surprised sound when Jack made a ridiculous joke. Then it grew, becoming something bright and uncontrolled, spilling out of her like water from a broken dam. She laughed until actual tears, ran down her luminescent face, and Jack laughed with her. And somewhere in that moment she realized she had never felt so terrified and so alive at the same time, that the galaxy would change because of what they did. The rigid Velnari would be forced to confront the questions their princess had embodied simply by choosing herself. Humanity would gain an unexpected advocate, someone who understood both worlds and could bridge them. Treaties would be written, alliances formed, and eventually, others would follow where Kelthra had led. But none of that mattered in the moment when she curled up in the co-pilot seat, wrapped in a borrowed jacket that smelled like human and machine oil, and felt warm for the first time in her life. She had been trained to be cold, shaped to be perfect, designed to be untouchable dot. It had taken a scruffy human scout with kind eyes and persistent optimism to show her the truth. She had never been ice at all. She had been fire, banked and buried, waiting for someone to recognize the light. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and full of possibility, and for the first time, Kelthra looked at them and felt hope instead of duty. Jack glanced over at her, caught her expression, and grinned. "Ready for an adventure, Your Highness?" She smiled back, and her whole face transformed with it. "Just kale," she said. "And yes,